Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, this is good because, you know, normally I have to do that twice to get a little enthusiasm, but it is clear that I have an enthusiastic group. Let me begin by thanking all of you for coming in the midst of this busy reunion and homecoming weekend. And frankly, the group gathered here today makes one thing perfectly clear, and that is that since 1977, Eddie Knowles has been one of the most memorable and important parts of the Rensselaer experience. And you know, the man doesn't stop, because I was at the football game this afternoon, they're hosting a few alums and so on. And I looked down on the field, and who should I see at the 30-yard line? Anybody know? So that means that I know life is good, as long as Eddie's always here. You know, he did begin as a coordinator of minority programs, assistant dean of students, and he's shaped student life here for 34 years. And of course, you all know, in 1979, he became the Institute's very first Dean of Minority Student Affairs, I'm told after a bit of a ruckus. You know, not of his own making, but let us just say by popular uprising and activity. And he was named Dean of Students in 1982. And he served in that position for 18 years. And that meant that when I came here as president, he was the Dean of Students. And as I came to know him, it came across my mind, why has this man been just the Dean for 18 years? Because I saw an immense talent, a person with a broad understanding of the Institute, and a caring about each and every student. And so I asked him to become the next vice president for student life. And so for the last 11 years in that position, he has helped me and everyone here bring the Rensselaer Plan to life, working closely with me to elevate the student experience, beginning with the award-winning first-year experience. And let me tell you a little bit about that. Now, when I came here, I had the point of view after a while that where we had our students live was not good enough. I had the point of view that we weren't doing enough as we brought our young people into Rensselaer. And so I'd had some experiences with looking at a few other places, and I felt that we could do some things uniquely. You know, I went to that other, as they used to call it, trade school. And believe it or not, we had the two-group. You know, the women were called co-eds, and not women. So I had some sense of what technological universities were all about. And I thought we could do some things differently. And so I wanted folks to go around and look at some places. But I just happened to talk to Eddie about the fact that we needed to create a true first-year experience for our students here. And before I knew it, he came back, and there was a dean of the first-year experience. We had totally begun to transform how students came in the first year, and he's been, you know, running ever since. And others are going to give more of a historical perspective that goes back even further. But let me just tell you my experience with him, because Dr. Knowles and the Student Life team, of course, also helped to launch our new Clustered Learning Advocacy and Support for Students initiative. We call it simply CLASS. And it builds on the first year experience. And in a sense, the first year experience is part of CLASS. But the first year experience has been so unique for our sophomores, our juniors, and our seniors. And so it builds off of the first-year experience to create a new model of residential life and of class clustering at Rensselaer. And you know, other places may have class deans, other places may have what they call residential colleges. But we felt we wanted to be completely comprehensive, so that living and learning become part of a seamless whole at Rensselaer. And for as hard as our students work and that we ask them to work, that they know that we care about them and that nurturing and excellence are not mutually exclusive. And you see, it was easy to make that transition because, as you've heard from Janet, that has been the signature hallmark of Eddie Knowles, because excellence and nurturing has been a trademark of his. And he has been a tireless advocate for Rensselaer students and has pioneered many programs that promote, protect, engage, and inspire students. And he has overseen the creation of everything from an intervention team to help troubled students, to the Preface Summer Program for high school students from groups historically underrepresented in the STEM fields, and that's a particular interest and focus of mine, to an ever-expanding universe of student clubs, undergraduate clubs. Eddie, how many clubs were here when I came? About 120. And now we have about 100 more than that. And of course, Eddie is a fanatic when it comes to athletics. So, you know, he was the key partner here in bringing the East Campus Athletic Village to life. And so while we are honoring Dr. Knowles, Eddie, today, because he recently stepped down as Vice President for Student Life, he made sure that this change would be a net plus for Rensselaer. And so I didn't even have to put the usual electronic tether on. Now, because of the foundation he had laid, we were able to recruit from the desert Dr. Timothy Sands. Where's Tim? There he is. Welcome, Tim. Where he had been associate dean and developed the complete student life program at NYU in Abu Dhabi. You know, he did make one mistake. He went to Union College. but Eddie will get him straight. And so we've been able to recruit him while still being in firm possession of Dr. Knowles' brilliance, his enthusiasm, his warmth, and his humor, because he remains at Rensselaer as professor of practice in the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. Now, Eddie's able to make such a transition. Why? Because he truly is a Renaissance man. Because he has had a multifaceted career. You know, even playing semi-pro baseball, right? Before turning his talents to student life. So when I met this man, you know, and I know many of you were here in the 60s and 70s, so I saw pictures of Eddie when he still had hair. But then some could say, when I came, I still had hair. But I'm sure that many of you know that Dr. Knowles has not simply been influential in the fields of student life and education, with, in fact, publications in scholarly journals to his credit. He also, and this is why I say he's a Renaissance man, is an acclaimed musician, recording artist, and performer, with a focus on African and Afro-Cuban music and dance. In fact, you know, in his earlier days, he traveled and played with the musician Gil Scott-Heron. So with all of this, you know, he's done amazing things. And Dr. Knowles is such an amazing teacher of music that in 2004, Rensselaer students who had taken his introduction to Afro-Cuban percussion class persuaded him to continue to chase the rhythms with that. And this was the birth of Ensemble Congueros, which we will hear from later this evening, a group of Rensselaer alumni and alumni and students dedicated to the study of Afro-Cuban, African, and New World percussion. And Dr. Knowles continues to head the group. So it clearly is an unusual person who is able to have moved across such a front and to, in fact, conduct two careers simultaneously at such a high level. And even more unusual is the fact that Eddie has never seen his two careers as being in opposition. And he easily could have been forgiven for considering music a refreshing break from the challenges of improving student life on our Troy campus, but that simply is not how his mind works. When Classique magazine asked several years ago how he managed to do it all, Eddie gave a rather remarkable answer that I would like to read to you, and I quote, "For me, the academic and the artistic were all one. The rhythms of my mind were also the rhythms of my body and the rhythms of my work with students as a higher education leader, helping my students get in touch with the rhythms of their lives that influence how they approach their being as individuals and as members of a community." That is what he said. In many ways, we may not think of it this way, but rhythm brings together opposites, things that are a little different. Silence and sound. That's how we have the rhythm. Repetition and surprise. Loudness and softness. Skill and soul. And organizes them all into something magical. And so Dr. Eddie Knowles has given us rhythm by welcoming a highly diverse student body and encouraging our students to pursue a dizzying way of interest, while at the same time helping all of us to become a more cohesive community. For 34 years, he has made this special place one of the world's best technological research universities, and even better place simply to be. And so we are happy and grateful that at this moment of transition, he has decided to remain an important part of our lives and to set the rhythm here at Rensselaer for many years to come. Thank you very much. Well, we have a little more torture for Eddie before we hear from him. So, Janet.
One of the beauties of the age of social networking is that there were a lot